Good evening. I would like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado for October 13th, 2025. Would you please stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll of the members?
Corey Stites.
Present.
Leah Dozman.
Here.
Rachel Hulteen.
Present.
Janice Hoppy.
Present.
Dan Larson.
Present.
Scott Ohm. Jenny Snell.
Here.
Amanda Weber.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilors, we don't have any minutes on our packet tonight. Are there any changes to be noted in the agenda? Seeing none, we will proceed with the agenda as posted. We have no proclamations or ceremonies, so we are going to go to our public's right to speak. So we are now at our public's right to speak portion of our agenda. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address their city council on any topic that is not on our agenda. If you have signed up to speak tonight, I will call your name as well as the name of the next person on deck. When I call your name to speak, please come to the podium. Please give us your first name and your last name. Please spell your last name for the record. Please tell us whether you live or work in Wheat Ridge. You will have 3 minutes to address the council. There are colored lights on the desk in front of the podium. A solid green light will come on after you've introduced yourself. When the green light begins to blink, you have 30 seconds left. When the light changes to yellow, there are 15 seconds left. And when the red light comes on, your time is completed and over, and would you please conclude your remarks? City Council members have the right, but not the obligation, to address any comments made, and that will happen after the last speaker has finished. So we're going to go with speakers in council chamber, in council chambers tonight, and then we have several folks that are going to join us online, and they will come after all of the folks that are here. So excuse me while I look at the list and see if I can pronounce most of the names correctly, and if I haven't, I apologize, and I hope you'll correct me when you do. So we have Becky Blackett speaking first, and Anemone Salmon on deck.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Becky Blackett, and I am a resident of Wheat Ridge for the last 23 years. I own 11 properties in the city. I'm here to address the ongoing issue concerning my rooster. I recently appeared in court for a nuisance charge due to my rooster's crowing. The city prosecutor persuaded me to plead guilty to creating a neighborhood nuisance, even though I had already voluntarily limited the rooster's outdoor time to between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., assuming this would mitigate the problems amongst my neighbors. During my court appearance, both the prosecutor and code enforcement explained to me that even if I let the rooster outside for only 10 minutes a day, any neighbor complaint about crowing could still result in another nuisance citation, regardless of the time of day or decibel level of the crow. This makes it clear that while the city code technically allows roosters, the practical enforcement of that code makes ownership nearly impossible for some of the residents. In effect, the current ordinance creates an unequal system. Some residents are allowed to keep roosters without issue because their neighbors are tolerant or supportive, while others, like myself, are penalized simply because a neighbor finds the sound objectionable. This is not a fair and uniformly applicable law. A rule that depends on personal opinions of neighbors rather than measurable standards such as decibel levels or designated quiet hours cannot be equally enforced. If Wheat Ridge truly allows roosters, then some degree of crowing outside the coop, particularly during reasonable daytime hours, should be expected and legally protected. A code that allows roosters but does not allow for crowing in practice is equivalent to a ban. In fact, it is worse because it leads to confusion, selective enforcement, and unequal treatment of the law among residents. City Code 26-606 clearly defines the setback and housing requirements for poultry, which I have not only met but exceeded in my application. Exceeding these setback requirements ensures that the volume of a rooster's crow is reduced from what it would be if the rooster were allowed to crow on a property line closer to the neighbors. I now find myself living in a city where I am legally allowed to have a rooster, but cannot safely let him outside of the garage for fear of facing additional penalties, even jail time, which the prosecutor explicitly warned could occur if the issue continues. Section 16-103 addresses unreasonable noise disturbance of the peace and limits trash collection between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. A similar or even more restrictive time limit for roosters being outside their coop would be reasonable and enforceable. However, expecting a rooster not to crow at all is unrealistic and contrary to the natural behavior of the animal. I respectfully urge the City Council to review this inconsistency and adopt a clear and balanced ordinance, one that defines acceptable hours or measurable decibel limits, which would support both Wheat Ridge's agricultural heritage and the fair treatment of all residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Anemone Salmon, and Osu Nanpa on deck.
Thank you, and good evening, City Council members and community members. My name is Anemone Salome, and I use they, them pronouns. I am a local advocate and the community organizer for the Jefferson County Food Policy Council. And I worked in food justice and food policy amongst the community to build a more just, equitable, and resilient food system. Tonight, I'm not speaking on behalf of the council, but as a recent resident of Wheat Ridge, a homeowner and a business owner here in the city as well. That was until I was effectively forced to flee the city after receiving ongoing racially charged death threats directed at me and my business, which was called Permatira. It was located at 44th and Marshall Street. As a single Black parent, urban farmer, and educator, I was raising my children, teaching and feeding the community while reclaiming and preserving African and Indigenous foodways on Wheat Ridge soil. The threats I received came almost weekly. They were explicit, violent, and targeted at both my business and my life. Yet, when I reported them, Wheat Ridge Police and Detective Raina Johnson dismissed them as too vague to act on. These threats were far from vague. They were detailed, graphic, horrifying, and went on repeatedly for 9 months. Councilmember Jenny Snell visited my business once upon hearing about the threats, but never followed up. In the end, the city failed to protect me, and I had no choice but to leave the city I loved. Today, I'm witnessing the same pattern of neglect and harm repeating itself. A local Indigenous steward and cultural cook, Narissa Rivera, has spent years nurturing ancestral foodways and healing practices for the community at Happiness Gardens. And she's now being removed from the land that she was verbally invited to tend. Because there was no written contract, the city removed her once they got what they wanted from her: knowledge, labor, and tokenization. That technicality, which city staff should have proactively addressed, is now being weaponized against her to sever her access to land. This is a textbook example of white supremacist pattern of worshiping the written word over lived relationship, of valuing paper over people, and of exploiting the deep spiritual and cultural relationships that Black and Indigenous people hold with the land. These relationships are not symbolic. They are ancestral, reciprocal, and real, just as with your human family members. Narissa is also now being pushed out of the community kitchen and business she operates near 38th and Wadsworth with less than a week's notice. After the church that hosts her aligned with the city that claims to stand in solidarity with Indigenous communities through a land acknowledgement, but it does not practice this in action. It's also Indigenous Peoples' Day today. It's a federally recognized holiday, and it should be respected as such by rescheduling meetings like these. Just last month, Wheat Ridge also made a Hunger Action Month proclamation recognizing that systemic inequities in food access disproportionately harm people of color. Yet these actions, forcing out not one, but now 2 community leaders of color who feed and nurture this city, are the embodiment of those very inequities.
Thank you. Would you conclude your remarks?
Yes, I have just one more sentence. I recognize that Wheat Ridge has made progress in certain areas, but this is a profound step backwards. I urge the City Council and officials to meet with me and organizations like the Jeffco Food Policy Council, which is deeply committed to equity, justice, and community leadership. Together, we can help the city align and realign its actions with its stated values and begin the hard but necessary work of repair and accountability. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Osu Nanpa and Sharon Ariel on deck.
Want to start by saying Kuali Tunali, Nahuat Natoka Osunumpa, Haumatakiapi, Osunumpa Hemiela. I'm here today on Indigenous Peoples Day, and I could be celebrating.
Would you please introduce yourself to us?
I did. I just
Okay.
did.
Thank you.
I'm here today on Indigenous Peoples Day. I could be celebrating and I should be enjoying my time, but instead I'm here because of the mistreatment of my friends and relatives. In the last year, I've been made aware of the inaction and ignorance within the city of Wheat Ridge when it comes to the protection of women and people of color. My good friend is a business owner. They were formerly a business owner with a proud storefront here in Wheat Ridge. Permatiera was a community hub and meeting place that offered free and discounted plans for BIPOC identifying people. They hosted community gatherings, educational events, and also doubled as a dog grooming facility. Yeah, my friend technically owned 2 businesses, truly an entrepreneur and badass business person. They started receiving harassment and threats of violence, physical violence, even arson of the business, stating disdain for the upliftment of Black and brown people. They continued for weeks before a police report was filed. They continued for months with no help, and the threats only got more vulgar and violent. Detective Raina Johnson with the Wheat Ridge Police Department said there wasn't enough information to help or to start a case. Despite hiring private security for events, the space no longer felt safe, and the city provided no assistance. This was when I realized Wheat Ridge wasn't a safe or welcoming space like they claimed to be. Maybe safe for white supremacists, but not for Black and brown people. I found out about Happiness Garden, a beautiful indigenous rematriation project that had the ability to heal the land as well as the people, integrating native agricultural knowledge and practices in ways that would weave the community and build long-lasting relationships, reciprocal relationships. A lot of people today fail to overlook the importance of relation. They think that relation is only when it comes to your blood. But what is blood? It's 80% water. So it's really water that relates us to each and every living being here on earth. The plants, the insects, the animals, the birds, everything from the water to the sky is an opportunity to be in proper relation with each other. My friend Narissa was in good relations with the city, but more importantly, she was in good relation with the people in the land. Her hard work wasn't honored, and the verbal agreements that were made were violated in a disrespectful way. The city made a public post, calling the accusations inaccurate, stating that you made some proclamation, including land acknowledgements as part of some city. This deserves more than 3 minutes per community member because there's many outraged people. This issue needs to be dealt with in a way that honors Indigenous people, the land, and the statements made by the city that claim to uplift Indigenous pride and sovereignty. Where was the land acknowledgement today? That cult-like Pledge of Allegiance. Anyways, the problem with Happiness Garden is being perpetuated by a white person, again, who wants to claim ownership over the work of an Indigenous woman. Kristen Dennis from Mile High Farmers Association has predatorily aligned herself with Indigenous land activists, pretending to be an ally, and this is a pattern of harm and neglect. It's a pattern of lack of acknowledgement. So really, your words mean nothing when your actions clearly show that you don't give a about doing what's right. You're only doing what's easy, and you need to do more. So because you forgot today, I want to do a land acknowledgement. This is the land of the Arapaho, the Cheyenne,
conclude
the
your
Ute
remarks.
people. I'm concluding. You need to chill the This is the land of the Ute, the Arapaho, and the Cheyenne people.
I'm going to call a recess. We'll stand in recess.
This is also the land of 48other
My name is Shana Ariel. I'm a nature guide here in Colorado, amongst other things, and my husband and I also work in Wheat Ridge, and we can frequently be found contributing to the local economy that supports the work of this council here today. I speak to you today with both kindness and authority as someone who believes in the community's integrity and accountability. First, I want to start by saying on this Indigenous Peoples Day in 2025, I am here in solidarity with the First Peoples of this land, the people who steward this land, the seed keepers and the land protectors whose relationship with the earth and whose ancestral knowledge keep these lands alive. The issue at hand today is that for 2 growing seasons, the city of Wheat Ridge has granted Narissa, the founder of Ch'il Indigenous Foods, access land at the Happiness Gardens for an Indigenous food sovereignty project, which was supposed to be a 5-year agreement with an automatic renewal thereafter. Her mission was to grow traditional Indigenous foods, preserve their seeds, and help restore Native people's relationship with their land. Narissa and the community members have invested thousands of dollars and countless of hours of resources improving the land through removing invasive plants, enriching the compacted and nutrient-deficient soils, and by building something truly meaningful for the community. With good faith, she trusted that the city's promise of partnership, but that trust was broken. Despite repeated assurances, no formal contract was honored. Access to the land was used as leverage for personal gain amongst leadership. Numerous requests for accountability were continuously ignored, and finally, when a contract was in the works, conditions were later added that required Narissa to resolve things, quote unquote, with individuals who had been hostile and abusive towards her. Let me be so clear, that is not collaboration, that is coercion. This directly contradicts what food sovereignty means as a whole, and you all knew what her message was. Food sovereignty is the right of the people to define their own food systems, to grow and access culturally appropriate, sustainable foods without institutional control or abusive oversight. For sovereignty, food sovereignty is about autonomy, respect, and relationship with the land. What is happening here is the opposite of that. Last October, this city council proclaimed support for Native American Heritage Month in November, stating that Wheat Ridge is committed to developing relationships with tribal communities. Yet when faced with the real opportunity today to act on those words, you fell back on bureaucracy, making your proclamations hollow, meaningless, and fraudulent. Narissa's work benefits not only Indigenous people and the entire community, but beyond, introducing climate resilience, drought-tolerant crops, and a model of sustainability that our youth can learn and thrive from. So I urge the City Council to take immediate corrective action. 1, honor the original agreement with Ch'il Indigenous Foods in writing if she so wishes. 2, ensure that oversight will not be met with abusive power and on her terms, all while holding immense accountability so that this history cannot repeat itself yet again. 3, adopt a policy framework to protect Indigenous-led land access and food sovereignty projects in Wheat Ridge moving forward, while committing to educating your entire staff on the extent of food sovereignty as well as the land back movement. And why your public statement the other day you shared to social media was so abhorrent.
Thank you.
And lastly, thank you. Lastly, number 4, I urge you all to stop viewing this land as a commodity to simply be tossed around and profited from.
Okay,
Not a
that's
place
enough.
that needs to drip with
Please-
policy
please
and
sit
bureaucracy,
down.
but instead as a beloved relative,
Okay, we're
one
gonna
that
call
you
a
would do
recess
anything
again.
to cherish and protect.
Please be mindful of the time.
Amber Ingerman, and I think Riley Simberg or something on deck.
Good evening. My name is Amber Ehrman. I'm a resident of Wheat Ridge. I grew up here and I've watched our city grow and change over the years. I've been a resident for over 30 years. I'm here today on Indigenous Peoples Day to speak in support of Narissa Rivera. Our city should be extremely grateful to have someone dedicating their time to educate and feed our community, utilize Indigenous regenerative farming practices, in this incredible project and for being a part of our community. I was deeply disturbed to hear the situation and to read the response posted on the city's Instagram page in response to the situation. And I hope that moving forward, there's a decision made to repair the damage done. With the growing threat of climate change, these practices would help us shift. As an aspiring gardener, I would be grateful at the opportunity to learn from her. And most importantly, if Wheat Ridge stands in solidarity with its Indigenous community, action must be taken to repair, otherwise the declaration of solidarity is an empty statement. It's far past time to do better, and our city needs to reflect on how to heal these relationships. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Riley Simberg and John Marriott on deck.
Hello, I'm Riley. I'm here with Appreciation, standing in solidarity with Narissa Rivera. I used to live in Wheat Ridge. I worked on the City of Wheat Ridge grounds keeping team with Steve and Keith Alcott. I graduated from the high school. I no longer live here, but this place will always be home in some ways. I'm commenting today in regards to a subject which has been a part of the stories of this land, that of a wound going back centuries, that of the harms of the wrongs done to the First Peoples via settler colonialism. Specifically and recently, I'm speaking to the wound of another broken promise, this time to Narissa Rivera and Chill Indigenous Foods and the community who has contributed towards food sovereignty. Healing is not an easy road. Wheat Ridge seems to wish to embark on the healing, has given land acknowledgements, and has created a committee. But without putting action forth, this is simply gilding and PR. In your statement yesterday, whenever that was, you said it was an interpersonal issue. But when you ignore the power dynamics, it is simply white supremacy. Equity gilding for the same corrupt land and power-hungry system which wounded the first people and the lands and the relations in the first place. So much time and labor and love has gone into restoring the relations to the land by Narissa and the community. So I'm asking you here today to find a way to make this right. Take those steps. Put actions behind your words. We don't want just a land commitment. We want land back. That means they need actual power in these says, in these decisions, land to do with as they will. It would seem restoration and healing is again required. If any restorative justice is due, I'm not sure that, it is due. And in order to actually make these steps happen, we're going to need to see some action. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but something needs to be done. And we will be following, making sure, And thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Marriott and Susan Wood on deck.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is John Marriott. I own Larson Ski and Sport at I-70 in Kipling, and I also serve on the City Council in the City of Arvada. And I'm here tonight to deliver a couple of thank yous to a couple of the members here on the City Council. Mayor Starker, you and I were elected, I believe, in the same cycle, the same election, and I've really appreciated working with you over the last 12 years, particularly your professionalism, your grace, your dignity on our interactions in all the places that we've interacted, which have been many, particularly when we disagree. I think that's a real measure of your success, and I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Councilwoman Dozeman for her efforts here. Leah's district and my council district abut each other, even though they're in different cities. And over the years, we've had an opportunity to work together on a number of issues that are of interest to folks that live in the area. Many of our residents aren't even sure which city they live in, much less who their representative is. And so we've worked together on a number of things. But as a business owner in this city, and a business owner for 42 years now in this city, I particularly appreciate Leah's advocacy and work on a number of things. Things like Anderson Park and Pool, where my children swam all the time growing up, who now are adults, and I appreciate that. The comp plan rewrite that the council is doing now, I think Leah has done a fantastic job in guiding that work. The issues with all the motels at I-70 and Kipling have been a particularly sticky issue for the city of Wheat Ridge for a long time. And all of you, but particularly those council members who have those in their district, I think have done fantastic work in improving that situation and really setting that part of town up for future success. I think Leah's advocacy for 44th Avenue over the years in Wheat Ridge, it's very easy to focus in just a few places, but the whole city has needs, and the whole city needs advocacy. And Leah particularly has been a very strong advocate for all up and down 44th Avenue, the business community, and the way 44th Avenue functions. And of course, the Carnation Festival and Parade, one of the true gems of Wheat Ridge. Honestly, as an Arvada City Council member, we peer over the fence at the Carnation Festival and go, why can we not do something as well as you guys do with the Carnation Festival? And I believe it plays a big part in that every year in making that happen. I really want to wish you both well in your future endeavors and let you both know I'll always be grateful for the sacrifices you've made to represent us in Wheat Ridge. And thank you very much. I appreciate all your service.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Susan Wood and Sharon Outland on deck.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you very much for having me. My name is Susan Wood. I am a resident of Wheat Ridge. I've been here for 32 years, and I'm also privileged to serve on the Wheat Ridge Planning Commission. I'm also a planner by profession, and that's what really brings me, here to talk to you tonight. A few weeks ago, I attended a congressional fly-in in D.C. as part of the American Planning Association, a group of about 20 or 30 of us from across the country who were invited by the American Planning Association to attend for the purpose of meeting with legislators and legislative staff to support housing legislation, in particular, the renewing opportunity in the American Dream, or ROAD, much easier to say, Road to Housing Act of 2025. This bill is really notable because it's a bipartisan effort. It has bipartisan sponsorship and support, and that makes a lot of sense because it's about housing, which is important to all of us. The bill itself has programs and policies that support construction of housing, a variety of housing types and local solutions. And the bill could significantly lower barriers to housing, streamline approvals, increase accountability and efficiency in federal housing programs, and incentivize local innovation, which is why I wanted to bring this to you today, because I know it would be of importance to you. It's also beginning to look like a good success story as well. And it also has elements in the bill that would support the work that the city's already done with housing, such as the approval of the Affordable Housing Strategy and Action Plan, which the city approved in January of 2023. And also has elements that would support the work done by housing authorities here in Wheat Ridge, such as Foothills Regional Housing. So again, the bill has been successful thus far. It's not finalized, but it passed out of the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs in August of this year, and was awaiting introduction on the Senate floor. It didn't make it to that point, but alternatively, and also really probably fortuitously, it was included in the National Defense Authorization Act, which is a bill that Congress has to pass every year, and it often includes things that have enough support behind them, such as this legislation, the Road to Housing Act. This passed in the Senate this past Thursday, which a great success story in and of itself. The House also has to pass a version of the National Defense Authorization Act. They have passed theirs, and it does not include the Road to Housing Act in it. But there will be a compromise that's arrived at through conference committee that includes a version that both bodies can agree upon. So that's the next step for this, and it has such support that it's very likely to make it to that point. Again, I bring it to you because I think it's something that complements the work that the city has already done. And it's always nice to know that there are things happening at the federal level that do dovetail with the work of the city and provides tools for the city.
Thank you.
Again, thank you. I know my time is up. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for the good work that you do.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sharon Outland and Valerie Nosler-Beck on deck.
Hi, Sharon Outland. I live in Wheat Ridge on Balsam. I am a member of Happiness Gardens, even though being a member also means being part of a community. So I have no notes. I just want to say that if more gardeners were on probably social media platforms, then we would know what was going on with the garden. But at the same time, we're there at least every day, twice, 2 or 3 times a day. And our whole goal is just to grow a tomato, decent tomato. So I do have to say thank you to the city. Thank you to the staff member, the Parks and Rec team that has supported the individual gardeners, and I'm thinking there's probably 40 of us, somewhere in around 40, that makes that special space a community. We approach it as a community. We have policies, we have procedures, we have suggested guidelines that will make this a really nice place to be a part of. So I want to say thank you. I am disappointed that this conflict has brought itself to a public platform where it's, instead of talking through disagreements or talking through misunderstandings. So I'm simply here to say thank you. It's a great place to be a part of. It is a diverse community, not only ethnic diversity, age diversity, gender diversity, and garden skill diversity. But it's a wonderful place, and your city employee over the last 2 to 3 years that she has been assigned to that project has helped us create a better community, create a better garden, create better educated people who thought they were good gardeners, but we could be much better in so many ways. So on behalf of one gardener and another gardener that's here, and another really good fence builder that's here, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Valerie Nosler-Beck and Victoria Vasquez on deck.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Val Nosler-Beck. I live in Wheat Ridge, and I love that I live in Wheat Ridge. The swastika painted on I-70 in a neighboring community inspired me to show up here tonight. I stand as an ally to all Jewish neighbors and unequivocally condemn these hateful actions. I also want to make clear that I condemn all hate speech in every form and anti-Semitism. Wheat Ridge must continue to be a place where everyone feels safe, valued, and respected. I also want to speak about supporting local businesses, not only here, but across our region. Recently, an opponent in my election was not able to host an event at a business in a neighboring city because the business feared political retaliation. That's not who we are, not here. Businesses should be free to engage with their neighbors, host events, and generate the revenue they need to survive without fear of political backlash. When we withhold support because of politics, we're not hurting candidates, we're hurting workers and families who rely on those paychecks. I also want to take a moment to talk about voting. This time of year always reminds me of our friend and former Wheat Ridge City Clerk, Steve Kirkpatrick, who passed away. If Steve were here tonight, he would be reminding all of us that ballots should be arriving in the mail this week, that you can vote by mail until October 30th, and vote in person or drop your ballot at a secure drop box by Tuesday, November 4th. Steve cared deeply about participation, about making sure every Wheat Ridge voter had their voice heard. I hope we'll all honor his legacy by doing just that. I'm especially excited to vote for measures that support free lunches for kids fed by our local farmers, ensuring our children are healthy, nourished, and connected to our community. Today on Indigenous Peoples Day, it feels especially important to remember the value of inclusion, belonging, and respecting all voices in our community. I'd encourage council to have the IDEA Committee review the issue of usage at Happiness Gardens. I know people involved on all sides of this, and I believe the IDEA Committee could help navigate the conversation, but most importantly, make sure everyone feels heard and seen. I'm proud of Wheat Ridge for having the conversations that are sometimes hard, but that ultimately make our community more inclusive and stronger. As this may be one of the last meetings I'm speaking to you from this position, I want to express my deep appreciation for Mayor Starker, my former District 4 colleague Leah Dozman, and our dedicated counselors Amanda Weaver in District 3, Janice Hoppy in District 1, and Scott Ohm in District 2, whom I hope will continue to serve after the election. You all have been mentors and friends, and we have done so much together. I'm forever grateful for all you have done for me and our community, and I'm raising the community I'm raising my children in. They always cry, you know that. Thank you forever. And I also want to thank all of the council members. Your incredible work during these incredibly divisive political times is just so admired. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker and the last one signed up in the council chambers is Victoria Vasquez.
Hi, good evening. My name is Victoria Vasquez, Vazquez. I am not a resident of Wheat Ridge, but I want to wish you a happy Indigenous Peoples Day. And I'm here to speak on the mistreatment that our community has suffered at Happiness Gardens. I am a mestiza Chicana Indigenous person, and I want to pause on the word mestiza because the very reason I am mestiza is the result of colonial erasure, forced assimilation, displacement, and generations of our people being told to forget who we are. Even my identity itself carries the story of colonial oppression. For much of my life, I searched for a place where I could truly belong, a space to root myself, to be in relationship with the land and with others who share that ancestral connection. This garden was supposed to be that. For the first time in 40 years, I was able to hold and be held in community, but only once, because soon that would also be taken. Our community began witnessing acts of aggression and harassment, behavior that made us feel unsafe and unwelcome on our own land. Our community witnessed all of it. We saw racial, cultural, and disability discrimination, rights that are federally protected. And when our community spoke up and tried to bring awareness, still, the city chose to take the word of one white woman over the lived experiences of an entire Indigenous community. That choice to silence the many and protect the one is not neutrality, it is complicity. And the harm that was compounded by the city's own failures. For a municipality to move forward with a project like this without any formal contract is not just careless, it is predatory. They knew our community doesn't operate from colonial systems as a default. We operate from good faith, relationship, and trust, values that have guided our people far longer than any paperwork ever has. So when Narissa and all of us moved forward without a contract, it was because we were acting in goodwill, believing in partnership and mutual respect. And the city chose to take advantage of that. And when institutions exploit our goodwill and call it partnership, that is not collaboration, that is extraction. The same colonial pattern repeated again. And when those in power refuse to take accountability, when they fail to act or remove those who cause harm, that silence becomes another act of violence. Long gone are the days of our people not knowing how to assimilate within these colonial structures. We understand the language of power, and we will no longer allow it to be used against us as the default. We can and will hold these systems accountable. As I stand here on Indigenous Peoples Day, I ask for the city of Wheat Ridge and the council to please take a moment to look at the facts and ask our community and at least help us engage and navigate a conversation to rectify all of the violence and the harm that is still being perpetuated right now on this day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go to our online speakers now. I have 3 or 4 people signed up to speak. If you would please unmute yourself when I call your name, introduce yourself. You'll have 3 minutes to address the council. Our first speaker is Alexis Lanalis and Aspen Stoyer on deck.
Hello, my name is Alex Zalanis. Thank you for allowing me to speak. As shown in the recorded City Council meeting on October 28, 2024, the City of Wheat Ridge planned to formalize a contract for Native American Food Sovereignty Project inside Happiness Gardens with Narissa from Chill Indigenous Foods leading the initiative. The City of Wheat Ridge never formalized the contract, even after 2 growing seasons, and about $20,000 put into the land. And the Indigenous volunteers, while they cleared the invasive plants, amended nutrient-deficient soil, and built dry land farms using traditional Indigenous knowledge, Narissa and her volunteers did the hard, unpaid work of restoring the land, and only for the experience of regaining their ancestral farming practices that were stripped from them, and probably from many of the City of Wheat Ridge ancestors, and the reason why they live here now. And despite the city's stated empty words of prioritizing Native partnerships and uplifting Indigenous communities, the City of Wheat Ridge policed the crops being used and their practices, and referred to arbitrary policy-based excuses to exclude Native participants and to control the practices used, a direct contradiction of previously publicly stated sentiments. The harm further compounded by assigning Kristen YY Dennis to oversee the project, as she directed verbal abuse towards the Indigenous leader, Narissa, and the other volunteers during the context of the project, which absolutely necessitates formal accountability, disciplinary action, and anti-racist training for the city employee who inflicted harm, at least. You owe it to your community, the entire community, not just those who reflect the race that you privilege, to rectify the situation, to give back this land, to write the contract in writing, to have it recognized by the city. Your own post on November 17th, 2023, honoring Native American Heritage Month, where you said that you would recognize, you owe it to the entire community to do what's right, apologize, and take accountability. Otherwise, you're creating a breeding ground for more violent racism during a dangerous time in our country for anyone who is not white and Christian. And that will also harm those who you wish to give higher privileges to based on their whiteness and adherence to white supremacy culture. I yield my time.
Your time is up. Can you conclude your remarks, please?
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Aspen Stoyer, and Miranda Dominguez is on deck.
Hello, my name is Aspen Stoyer. I am not a resident of Wheat Ridge, but I am speaking here today on Indigenous Peoples Day because I would like to call out the Wheat Ridge City Council on the treatment of Narissa Rivera and the Chio Indigenous Foods. The city made a commitment to Narissa and the community, which was supposed to be a 5-year agreement with automatic renewal. but they have fallen back on that promise, and I would like to call on the city to repair this relationship and give the land back to Narissa. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kazia Lozano. Oh,
Hello, my name is Gessia Lozano. I am not a resident of Wheat Ridge. I don't have anything formal prepared. I am showing up in solidarity for a community member and a valuable local business, Narissa and Chi'il Indigenous Foods. I feel like my community has shown up and showed out tonight, so thank you for everybody and their support. On Indigenous Peoples Day, it's important to be reminded that colonial systems of violence and power are still alive and well in modern day America. It is disheartening to be a Colorado resident and see our leaders fail our Indigenous community once again. Narissa is a skilled farmer and a holder of incredibly valuable traditional ecological knowledge. The work that her family, and her community have poured into this land will never be forgotten by the folks involved and by the land itself, which has been so beautifully rematriated. It's so important for us to be at this point. I think the bare minimum that the city should do is open up a dialogue and an investigation into how this was allowed to happen. If we claim to be so married to bureaucracy and in love with our systems, why was a contract not put in place at the start? It's just odd to me that this burden of bureaucracy is often shoved onto our BIPOC communities. We often have to prove ourselves that we are worthy of spaces that are ours and always have been. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
thank you. Our next speaker is Miranda Dominguez.
Hello, my name is Miranda Dominguez. I'm a local farmer, a Chicana, a seventh generation Coloradan, and a community member. I'm here, or virtually here, on Indigenous Peoples Day to advocate for my friend and fellow Indigenous farmer, Narissa Rivera. I am here because for 2 years, Narissa has stewarded the land at Happiness Gardens, putting labor, love, and money into the land, creating and leading community members. She did so believing in good faith the words of the City of Wheat Ridge employees that she would have a 5-year agreement with an automatic renewal for additional 5 years. However, that agreement never manifested. It was never finalized. What did manifest, however, was the City of Wheat Ridge allowing manipulation and micromanaging of Indigenous people's autonomy by a city employee towards Narissa. All of this while the city and their employees touted the Indigenous Food Sovereignty Project as a city success. The city's words were hollow. There's a long-standing practice of going back on agreements by government entities towards Indigenous people. This cycle is harmful and it is violence. If the city really does believe they want to be in solidarity with Indigenous people and help us to have food sovereignty work done, then the government, the city, needs to repair this disagreement. It is harm. It is a cycle of harm again and again, and it only shows that the city values power over its people. Please, please take this seriously. You've got people from all kinds of walks of life here telling you you need to take this seriously. This is not okay. This does not represent who we want to be and where we want to go. There needs to be an investigation. There needs to be accountability.
and there needs to be land access. If we are going to make it through climate change, which I know the city has a lot of policies and money going towards, then we need to start standing with Indigenous people, listening to the way that we steward the land, and start caring for the people and the land. You are on somebody's home. My family has been here for 7 generations. How many of you have? How long has Narissa's family been here? Please take this seriously and do your jobs. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. That's all of the people that I have signed up to speak. Are there any counselors that would like to speak at this time? Councilor Hulteen.
Thank you, Mayor. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day, and we should not be having this meeting. We should acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day as a day to not conduct the city's business. If this was Juneteenth, we would not be sitting here. So the first thing I'd like to share is that I'm asking that moving forward, that the city does not conduct city council business on Indigenous Peoples Day after today. I've been thinking a lot about the situation this weekend, actually for longer than this weekend. I know most of the people that are touching this, and Happiness Gardens is a sacred place to me. I spend time every day of my life in Happiness Gardens, even when it's 10 below zero. I first want to recognize that city council structure is not one for dialogue, but it was important for me today that we name the people who took the time to come and share their stories, because we don't always get to do that here. So I want to recognize Anemone Osa, Amber Riley, Victoria, Alexis, Aspen, Katsia, Miranda. I hope I got everyone who spoke. And I know Narissa is in the room. You know, I have the profound privilege to walk in a room and not know what it's like to be 1.6% of the population of my city. I get to conduct my business and walk around my community and not carry with me generations of trauma around land access. And this is a situation and an incident and a night and a moment in time where that is being called to the forefront of what I'm thinking about. I am one of 8 people who's a seated councilor plus our mayor. And I know I want to do better as a city, and doing better comes from education, understanding, dialogue. Councilmember Snell and I would like to take up the Jefferson County Food Policy Council's offer for dialogue, and we've already expressed that to you. I'm looking forward to that dialogue. But again, I am one. I know the city wants to do better, and I hope that we've all listened deeply and carefully tonight to what's been presented. These are perspectives we don't hear often in this room. I hope people will continue to show up and engage in dialogue with us here. It's not always the best dialogue space. Smaller spaces and more immediate conversation is much more constructive. I am available and would like to have any follow-up conversations, but I just really want to thank everyone for coming and speaking your hearts. These are hard conversations, and this is not an easy situation. There's a lot of grief and pain in this room tonight, and I just want to acknowledge that. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilor Weaver.
I would like to address another issue that was brought up tonight, and I also want to thank everybody for coming in and speaking to their issue. I would like to go back to the first speaker who has been through court with their rooster, and I'm just curious. You know, I know we sat in here a month ago and talked about how we were going to allow roosters and the code, and I'm just curious. It seems like the outcome of this, it doesn't really seem like a great outcome in terms of went to court, but I think our speaker said it more eloquently. what can the speaker do once one has been to animal court regarding a noise violation? And what is the follow-up? Because I realize that we have two options of either changing the code or the court. So I was hoping that either Mr. Goff or Mr. Dahl could speak to that.
Well, I can make a couple of points. Obviously, there's a separation of powers, and the court is court. And of course, the council doesn't tell the judge how to rule on things, because otherwise you don't have that separation. So those are two different processes. There's the court process under the code when a citation is written that is then prosecuted and the judge makes a decision. There's the opportunity for both the prosecution and the defendant, person charged, to make their case to the judge, and that's a decision that's made. The decisions of the municipal court of record are then appealable to the county court, and that's a right that the individual person has, but it's not a right the council can say do this or don't, or fund or not fund. That's a right that's held individually, and it wouldn't be appropriate for the, just as it's not appropriate for the council to tell the judge, rule this way on this one or not this way on that one. And we never do that, and that's just not, that's a line that's respected. So it's the right of, it remains the right of the individual to appeal that decision, that case, is as they choose. That's the judicial side of things. On the legislative side of things, which is this council, you're the legislature, you gave direction at a recent study session for the drafting of an ordinance, which has been done. I'm working with Cole Haslip. He's done a draft. I'm reviewing it. It'll be ready for your consideration shortly. It's really in pretty good order now. And it deals, of course, with individual types of animals, aggressive animals. It deals with roosters. And at, I think, my suggestion or his, I can't recall, that study session, we're looking also at being able to have enforcement of those new rules if council chooses to adopt them through the administrative enforcement process rather than the judicial process, which is still a form of judicial process, I think you can appreciate, but it's faster, it's less formal. It doesn't necessarily result in acquittals. It's not designed for that. It's designed to provide an enforcement process that is similarly fair to all the parties, but is more informal. But in any event, on the legislative side, you've directed that ordinance be drafted. It has been, and it'll be in front of you in the next meeting or so. So that's what I can tell you.
I'll just add to that. The direction we received specifically on roosters was to allow them, to clarify in the code to allow them. As we discussed, there's a little bit of unclear language about if they're allowed or not, and then allow a certain number. Right? Was
right.
The direction
Right.
we received. But there is a section in our code that deals with nuisance animals as well. And I believe that's probably what the court ruled on. I didn't see the court decision. Honestly, I heard about it. But, any animal that causes a neighborhood nuisance could be treated the same way.
Yeah. I guess I would appreciate you speaking to the issue that the speaker brought up, which is if your neighbors don't like something, they get to report on you, and you don't get to have that. But if your neighbors don't report on you, like I understand, I've been dealing with this for years, as you all know, and it's a hard one to sort of say that because that doesn't seem fair. And I'm just sort of wondering if you all could comment on that, because I'm hearing that the speaker can appeal through the court system. That's separate from us. I'm not sure how we put it in the code with decibels or whatever. But it does come back to this original conversation of it just depends on if people don't like what you're doing, even though we allow it. And that's it doesn't really seem very fair.
Well, the challenge, of course, in a urban setting where everyone's a neighbor to everyone else, And one person's neighbors may be fine with something and another person's neighbors might not. And the city can't be in the position of picking which neighbors get to have the right to make complaints and which don't. We can't be in that position. So the city has a code that allows complaints. Those complaints make their way to the judge. The judge is able to look at things in a fairly, fact-specific case-by-case, setting. But what you can't do is say, well, we're going to preclude the ability for people to complain about noise, about animals, about cars with loud pipes, about any of the things that are capable of being the subject of a neighbor complaint. That's the nature of an urban environment. But what council can't do is sort of pick winners and losers around a given neighborhood. That's what you can do, and we try all the time to write ordinances that have balance between the concerns of people that are a little more sensitive versus the people that aren't, because that's just true as well. And you do your best, then you have a code section, and if it does get written in a court, the next avenue is listening to presenting your case to the judge. And that's another human being that makes the best decision he or she can. And if you don't like that decision, you appeal. But I can't come up with a magic solution to the alleged problem. Well, what happens if someone complains about me? That's hard on me, and they shouldn't be able to. It might actually be hard. It might feel unfair. Maybe it is. But to create a different system where that's not available means you disenfranchise everyone in the city that needs that kind of protection. And it's our job collectively to try to create ordinances that have some form of balance. And, you gave us direction recently to try to create an ordinance that has some balance. We're always fine-tuning when we realize the balance isn't perfect. And I think we recognize it never will be. You're always kind of trying to make improvements and make it better. But I can't give you an easy answer to that because there isn't one. It's part of the nature of an urban environment where people have to live together, and some people complain in different ways or are more sensitive in different ways.
Yeah, I would maybe just add to that. We do investigate complaints, not just because somebody calls in and complains about something, then we're going to take action, right? I think in this situation, there were numerous complaints about habitual noise, and that's what we had to base our decision on. And again, as Mr. Dahl said, the court made their decision. We can't change that, but as Mr. Dahl said, legislatively, if we want to come up with something creative that can manage this differently, we can have a discussion. I don't know what that answer is. If you bring up the examples of leaf blowers and lawnmowers and dogs, my neighbor's dogs bark nonstop. I'd probably turn them in, but I'm city manager. Hope they're not watching.
I guess that's
yeah.
it's the lesson I'm trying to pull from this. Does that just mean that when something really bothers me, that I'm
sure,
calling
you have that
on
right.
my neighbors?
Yes, you have that right. Everybody has that right, including city council. If you live, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Pardon me, Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. Forgive me, I will be reading my comments, but these are my words. I want to acknowledge the community members who took the time to provide public comment. Thank you. Sorry. I'm sitting here in a place of great privilege. I don't claim to know about generational trauma caused by my ancestors. I don't claim to know about the lived experience of anyone with black or brown skin, and I won't belabor this because white guilt has very little place in a productive conversation. What I want to convey is my desire for our community of Wheat Ridge to stand in a place of learning and support of all, truly all of its members. There are hard conversations and moments of vulnerability ahead, and I'm here for it. hard conversations are where we grow. As the council liaison for our city's IDEA committee, I'm fortunate enough to work alongside community members who are passionate and dedicated to DEI work in our community. The IDEA committee will be continuing the work on our land acknowledgement action plan, which outlines next steps. We are committed to collaborating with Indigenous leaders and councils to ensure our city can move forward the way we should and with reverence and respect. I invite everyone to learn more about the committee by checking out our page on the city website, or better yet, join us for a meeting. I'll continue to lead with kindness and empathy, and I encourage my fellow leaders to do the same and get curious about what these things mean for our community. And above all, I expect fairness and truth in its entirety, both of myself and my community. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public's right to speak. For this evening, I want to thank all of the speakers that came and talked to us today. The City Council wants to hear you. We want to have a dialogue with our citizens. We appreciate you coming today. We try to make this meeting as organized as we can, and we appreciate you working with us for that. Thank you so much. With that, we will go to agenda item number 1. Councilor Hoppe, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Council Bill 20-2025, an ordinance adopting by reference the 2024 editions of the International Building and related codes, including local and conforming amendments. At issue, the city currently enforces the 2018 International Building Codes, and this ordinance adopts the 2024 editions. Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code functions as the building code, and this update improves usability, provides better procedural clarity, and streamlines administration.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on first reading to set the date, time, and location for a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. May I have a motion on this item, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 20-2025, an ordinance adopting by reference to the 2024 editions of the International Building and related codes, including local and conforming amendments, on first reading, order it published, public hearing set for Monday, October 27th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting and in council chambers, and that takes effect immediately after publication.
We have a second. Who had the second? Second by Councilor Hulteen. Will the clerk please poll the council?
Eight ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. With that, we will go to agenda item number 2. Councilor Hulteen, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce a motion to cancel the November 3rd, 2025 City Council study session. At issue, City Council is scheduled to hold a study session on Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Because the regular municipal election will be held the following day, November 4th, staff is recommending that City Council cancel the November 3rd study session to allow members, candidates, and the community to focus on Election Day activities and participation.
Thank you. This will be a motion of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Would the clerk, let's see, we need, is there, do you have any further presentation? Okay. May I have a motion on this item?
Yes, I move to cancel the November 3rd, 2025 City Council study session.
We have a motion and a second by the Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council? Thank
No
you.
nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now go to agenda item number 3. Councilor Weaver, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a motion awarding a contract to TCC Corporation in the amount of $625,044.18 with a contingency amount of $62,504 for a total approved amount of $687,548.18. 18 cents is important.
It is.
For the Clear Creek Crossing Bus Terminal, which we are about to learn about. Would you like me to do the issue regarding the bids?
I think you could skip that.
You've got
No.
it. I think, Mr. Goff, we have
Mayor
a
said
staff,
no.
we have a staff
We
presentation.
do.
on
We
the side
have
of
a,
this.
we have a,
In the interest of.
All good, all good.
we have a brief presentation. It's been a while since we've talked about this. This is very important because it is going to help the city reestablish some bus routes into Wheat Ridge, which is very important. So thank you, council. You should be proud. You are putting your money where your mouth is and building this bus terminal station, which is required to establish those new bus routes. Karen, I think we need to turn this on. It's in the box, probably in that white box. It's a little white remote. There it is. Okay. Sorry. So Kent Kinselman is here, and staff. Our interim public works director. He's going to give a quick presentation on this. We just have a couple quick graphics so you have an understanding of what this is going to look like and where it's at. Does that work? Get to turn your mic on. Put it nice and close.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The city received 3 bids, and TCC was the lowest responsible bidder. Funding for this project comes from the 2025 URA Bond Fund, which was previously approved by council. This project will build the new RTD bus terminal and driver relief station at Clear Creek Crossing. It's an important step for routes 28 and 32, which were suspended. Currently, Route 38 is still existing, but drops off at the Lutheran Hospital. And once this is built, it will stop here at this terminal. Once this terminal is complete, it will bring back transit access to neighborhoods west of Wadsworth, provide better connections to schools, shopping, medical, and employment centers. Construction is expected to start mid-November and wrap up mid-February. And if you'll refer to the slide on the screen, it's pretty hard to read, but I'll just point out a couple items. The kind of the big block there that you can see, that's the driver relief station. In front of that, there's a pedestrian light, some bike racks. Further to the west is a concrete shelter, and on the east side of that is another concrete shelter. So 2 of the pads will have covered shelter, and then there's also benches and trash receptacles along the way as well. And then the next slide, if I can. Next slide. Yep. Oh, boy. Oh, there it is. And that's just a picture of the driver relief station. So half of it is going to be the restroom. And then another would be the storage for it. And that's what it will look like. Staff is recommending the council award the contract to TCC Corporation for the total not to exceed amount of $687,548.18. And I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item I think that is due. It is part of the development going on at Clear Creek Crossing. It will provide an important link between that wonderful development going out there and all the activities and making that a destination. The quick question I have is the 2 routes, number 28 and 32. 28, it actually goes down 26th Avenue.
Yes.
And 32 goes on 32nd, obviously. Right now, they end at Wadsworth, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Will the extension of the line out to Clear Creek Crossing, will that happen when the terminal is finished, or after then or before then?
Yeah, it's all based on time of RTD. They only make schedule changes 3 times a year. So it depends when if the shelter doesn't get done in February. I think their next shelter or schedule changes at like May timeframe. So it probably won't happen until May. 38 right now, like as Kent mentioned, is going to the hospital, but 28 and 32 and 28 probably won't start until they make they do it 3 times a year, I believe. I think it's okay.
And it looks like a lovely terminal. I can't think of a better looking bus terminal anywhere. The driver relief station, I'm assuming the access will be controlled.
Correct. Or we'll have access as well.
Well, the bus drivers.
Yeah, the bus drivers will, but the city staff will as well.
Okay. And the other thing, I'm just going to put a plug in for the idea. I've shared this idea with many people. I think if we could somehow convince the folks at RTD to consider a shuttle, a small shuttle bus from the Ward Street station to the terminal at Clear Creek Crossing, running on a fairly regular basis, maybe even run it for free. That would help, I think, enhance the ability of people to connect from the downtown by train or by bus, and make that area a real hub for transportation.
And to respond to that real quickly, the 38th Avenue bus does go up to the Ward Station now. So it doesn't mean we can't look into a shuttle for more access, but right now the 38th will go to Ward.
Yeah, and then goes up. The only issue there is they run much more infrequently than in a shuttle bus.
Yep.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question about the other relief station that we built at the hospital. So will that go away?
They're using their restrooms in the emergency room now in the hospital.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah, so the
I thought
hospital.
there was a, okay.
No, hospital was willing to allow them to use their facilities.
Oh, good. Okay.
They'll stop using that one.
For some reason, I thought we had to build. Okay, great. Thank you.
We're putting out a invitation for bid currently to maintain all of our bus stops and bus shelters, and this is included in that.
So this would be maintained by the city of Wheat Ridge and not the Regional Transportation District?
For now, yes.
For now? Is that what you said? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yes, that's the initial,
Okay.
agreement. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on this item? All right. Councilor Weaver, may I have a motion on this item?
You may, Mr. Mayor. I should not have put caramel in my mouth before doing this.
Timing.
I move to award a contract to TCC Corporation in the amount of $625,000, $44.18 with a contingency amount of $62,504 for a total approved amount of $687,548.18 for the Clear Creek Crossing Bus Terminal.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Hoppy. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Hulteen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just really want to thank the city for being proactive in identifying this as a solution to the transit desert that was created when RTD terminated the service, especially serving our high schoolers on the 32 line. So this is the kind of thing, forward thinking by city staff and bringing that solution forward in our partnership with Urban Renewal to make it happen. And I think it's just an example of how we go about solving our real problems that we have in our city. So just really excited to see this moving forward.
Thank you. Councilor Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would just I would like to say ditto to Councilwoman Hulteen and also just acknowledge that this is going to help fill a real transportation gap for our high school, who, when they lost their bus line, we lost a lot of students that used to come across from Denver into Wheat Ridge. And so this will hopefully help Wheat Ridge High School grow their numbers there too.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to say thank you to staff. I think this will be great for the high school. The timing could be better for our new legacy development. I'm having this in line in the Clear Creek, so big thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, 0 nays. The motion carries.
Thank you. We will now go to agenda item number 4. Councilor Dozeman, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 50, 2025, a resolution approving the First Amendment to Agreement for Radio Specialist Services to have a radio systems administrator. Do you have a presentation, or would you like me to read the issue
I
statement?
think you can read the issue statement.
All
as well.
right. The Wheat Ridge Police Department is currently a party to an agreement with West Metro for radio specialist services dated July 22nd, 2019. Due to the retirement of the current part-time radio specialist, West Metro is transitioning the position into a full-time radio systems administrator. With the transition of the role, an amendment must be made to the current agreement in place for adjusted role and salary requirements.
Any further,
Division Chief Ray is here. You made him sit here all night, so I don't know. You have some questions for him? If not, if you don't have any questions,
there's
we have no
members-
presentation.
There's no members of the public that have signed up to speak, so I will ask council, are there any questions of Officer Ray or Mr. Larson?
Thank you, Mayor. And just a couple of real quick questions. We talked about percentage and sort of who's the different shares at the different municipalities. One of the things I was trying to learn, though, was how many political subdivisions or municipalities does West Metro service?
You know,
It's not that important. I guess where I'm trying to get to is how or why or how did we arrive at Wheat Ridge's share at 25%?
yes, I understand your question. So the total amount of radios that West Metro Fire has is 420. The total amount of radios, and this is handheld radios by our officers and vehicle radios, is also permanent radios, that Wheat Ridge has is 214. So we have about 33% of the total radios. Understanding the ebb and flow of the radio specialist, we feel that this new service agreement is equitable and reflects the amount of total radios. Like I said, West Metro has about 420, we have about 214.
Answers my question. Thank you.
Are there any further questions on this before I ask for a motion? Seeing none, Councilor Dozman, may I have a motion on this item?
I move to approve Resolution 50, 2025, a resolution approving the First Amendment to Agreement for Radio Specialist Services to have a radio systems administrator.
We have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Stites. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, 0 nays. The motion carries.
That concludes our action items tonight. We will now go to city manager's matters.
I will defer this evening. We have a special study session coming up, so I'll
Okay.
pass.
City attorney's matters.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Okay. Elected officials matters. Would you like to wait and do it now or wait until we finish our study session? Can wait. Looks like we'll wait on elected officials matters until the end of the study session. So we are going to adjourn our meeting now. We will be back next week in a study session, Mr. Goff.
Next week, we have, I don't know where we're at, study session, yes, I believe
Yeah,
so, yes.
Okay. So we'll have a study session next week at 6:30 here on Monday night. And we will adjourn this meeting. This meeting is adjourned. I'm going to give us about until 8 o'clock. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back here to start our study session. like to call to order the special study session for the City Council for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, for Monday, October the 12th, 2025. We have one item on our study session agenda, and that is item number 1, which is the stormwater utility feasibility study. We are starting off our meeting with a public comment. There is no one signed up to speak on public comment, so I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Goff.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we're excited to bring this forward this evening. This has been going on for the last several months, and we're here with the final study. I'll just turn it over to Kent right away, and we do have online the gentleman who completed the study for us. They're out of state, so they're online this evening. But Kent, you want to introduce this item?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're excited to bring this forward. Our consultant is online. We're going to cruise through our presentation, and then we'll be available for questions. I'll turn it over to, I think, Jen, right? Jen.
Yes, that's right.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Jennifer Tavansis. I think my label might show my colleague's name. I live in Durham, North Carolina. I'm a vice president with Bratellis Financial Consultants, and my team and I have been working with staff on a stormwater utility feasibility study. I'm here to share the results with you this evening. Let me share the screen.
Oops. We have the presentation up. Jen?
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yep.
Apologies. I was not seeing that. So, okay. Would you like me to not share? Then you all can have it on your end.
Yes, I think that might be easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
All
say
right.
next, just when you're ready to go,
Okay.
just say next slide, and then Eric will advance it.
Okay. Great, perfect. The purpose of this study was really to build upon the recent work the city did to understand the high-level stormwater and drainage needs in the city and to assign costs to those needs. The stormwater utility feasibility study established in more detail a projection of those costs and analyzed rate structures and rates associated with a potential new stormwater utility. Next slide, please. These are the topics we'll run through in the next 15 minutes or so, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. You can go ahead 2 slides. Actually, I'll start with a very brief refresher on the Stormwater Master Plan. Next slide, please. Thank you. The city engaged RESPEC to evaluate the city's major stormwater and drainage needs and develop a stormwater master plan for the next 10-year period. Study took about a year to complete. It was finalized in May 2025, so it's probably still pretty fresh in your memories. The big takeaways of the study, next slide please, as they relate to the work I'm presenting today, included identification of a set of capital improvement projects to address the most critical infrastructure needs, as well as recommendations to improve operations and maintenance of the storm drainage system. And then important to this exercise, the plan also recommended implementing a stormwater utility so the city would have dedicated funding for those needs into the future. Next slide, please. I would like to first review kind of how stormwater utilities work at the industry standard level, and then we'll get into the specifics for Wheat Ridge. A stormwater utility is a utility with revenue dedicated to stormwater management services and water quality compliance activities. It's normally a standalone fund that's supported by user fees. And we'll talk about the user fees in just a moment. And it's separate from the general fund or other funds. It does typically need to be established by a separate ordinance, and many communities across Colorado have taken that step, along with thousands more across the country. Next slide, please. Stormwater utility fees are typically calculated at the property level and based on the amount of impervious area a property has, because that is the most accurate way we have to assess the property's impact on the drainage system. Impervious area can include buildings, driveways, walkways, parking lots, and any other features that block water from being absorbed into the ground when it rains or when snow melts. That water then has to run off the property and into the streets and the city's drainage system before eventually receiving water bodies. Most pollutants are transported by that runoff as well. So at the property level, more impervious area means more impact on the drainage system. And under this construct, it means a higher fee. Next slide, please. And one more. Thank you. Cost of service is a term used particularly in the utility financial planning world to describe an analysis of the total costs related to services provided, revenue that needs to be recovered through a fee or a set of fees, and the appropriate allocation of those costs across customer classes. Next slide, please. For the city, the cost of service includes a refined set of inputs from the master plan, with over $35 million in capital project costs, broken down as you see here. And next slide, please. Just over $2 million per year in operation and maintenance costs, which include equipment, system inspection and cleaning. This also includes detailed drainage studies, which are important to be able to refine the projects or their prioritization from the master plan level. Next slide, please. This table here on the left shows those summary costs over the 10-year planning period. In addition to the costs themselves, the cost of service analysis models inflation or cost escalation over time, the use of debt to fund some capital projects, as well as establishing a reserve fund for unforeseen needs. Next slide, please. So the costs are one part of the equation here, and I'll now talk about establishing the units of service from which those costs would be recovered under a utility construct. There are two main groups of customers: single family residential, which we shorten to SFR, so you might see that, you will see that, and you might hear that, and non-single family residential, or NSFR. Initially, we are defining single family residential as any single family detached, duplex, triplex, or townhome property. Everything else that's not in this group is classified as NSFR, non-single family residential. An important reason for establishing this distinction is because everything in the SFR group is really substantially similar in its kind of impervious area, and it can be treated in a similar streamlined way. Next slide, please. The industry standard basis for stormwater utility fees is something called an equivalent residential unit, or ERU. I apologize for all the acronyms. The ERU represents the median amount of impervious area on a single family residential property. An ERU is community specific, so yours is not the same as your neighboring communities. And it includes the impervious surfaces I just mentioned. So building footprint, driveway, patio, any other impervious that exists on a property. We measured the actual impervious surface area on a representative sample of 400 single-family properties, which are shown as the blue dots on this map on this slide. Next slide, please. The results of that analysis are shown here. The typical or median value turned out to be 3,805 square feet of impervious area, which we round to 3,800. So just to summarize that, the ERU billing unit for Wheat Ridge is equivalent to 3,800 square feet of impervious area. For the purpose of the units of service estimation, we can assume 1 ERU per single family property. That's sort of the representative nature of it. And that gives us the units of service for that customer class. Next slide, please. Then for the non-single family residential properties, which are of course much more variable, we estimated the overall amount of impervious surface area on that set of properties and translated that to ERUs. You can see on the slide here about 50.9 million square feet of impervious area across the NSFR parcels. This estimation method works great for a feasibility study. It's tried and true. If the city moves forward with stormwater utility fee, you will want to delineate or measure the true impervious area for each non-single family residential property to make sure that each customer gets charged appropriately at an individual level. You'll see some examples of the impervious area delineation a bit later in the presentation, but I just wanted to point that out. Next slide, please. All right, the final estimated units of service results are shown here. So about 8,900 ERUs in the SFR class, which matches the number of properties in that class. About 13,900 in the NSFR class, or just a bit shy of 23,000 total. And on the next slide, that breakdown is shown on the right. So those total ERUs. On the left is the comparison of the number of parcels in those customer classes. So this is just a helpful visual to kind of demonstrate that on the whole, the non-single family properties have a lot more impervious surface area and a lot more impact on your drainage system than the single family residential customer class. And equitable cost recovery would acknowledge this. Next slide, please. All right, so how does this translate to rate structure and fees? The rate structure we modeled does align with kind of the industry standard approach where each single family residential property is charged at a flat rate for 1 ERU, and non-single family residential properties are charged per ERU of impervious area based on their actual impervious area. Next slide, please. This shows the long-term rate schedule we modeled. It certainly isn't set in stone, and we would advise conducting periodic cost of service and rate studies over time. But as modeled, we have the rate per ERU per month, starting out at $10 and increasing to $17 over that 10-year period. This supports the capital program and the other program elements as laid out in our modeled financial plan. And then I just want to show the associated cash flow where revenues increase along with rates. Expenditures in red are sensitive to the flow of the capital program, so they jump around a little bit. And then the fund balance is, of course, responsive to both, but it's designed in our modeling to maintain a minimum reserve level. So that's sort of the financial outlook as modeled. And now I want to show you a few sample properties to provide some real world impacts of the structure and rates that I just described. First, a pretty typical pharmacy property with 55,876 square feet of impervious area, which we have delineated by hand, and you can see highlighted in the translucent blue within that property boundary. This equates to 15 ERUs or $150 per month initially. The next example, please, is a smaller business shown here with under 16,000 square feet of impervious area. It equates to 5 ERUs or $50 a month. Next slide, please. Here we have an apartment complex. It's got over 90,000 square feet of impervious area. It equates to 24 ERUs or $240 a month. And then finally, a larger shopping center with a number of attached storefronts and a few separate buildings. For scale, this whole set of properties is over 34 acres, so pretty large. And this set of parcels has over 1.3 million square feet of impervious surface area. So that equates to 344 ERUs, and this set of properties would be billed $3,440 per month initially. All right, so those are the kind of real world impacts that we're talking about here. I understand that you're considering some options tonight regarding whether and how to proceed with utility implementation at this time. So I want to share what the next steps would look like if you do decide to move forward. First and foremost, we'd incorporate any feedback you have on elements of the feasibility study as provided briefly in this presentation and in some more detail in the report that we shared. The exact timeline would depend on that guidance, and it could range from 9 to 12 months. Within that time frame, the city would need to do some additional data development, so measuring that impervious area, make some billing policy decisions, and most importantly, conduct public outreach and engagement. And I think that is the end of my prepared remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we'll go to questions from council. Councilor Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one question and one comment. So on some of our newer developments, I would say probably over the last at least 10 years that I know of, because I've seen those, but probably more like 15-ish to 18-ish years. There were more strict requirements around stormwater detention. And so I guess my question is, are we just going to treat all commercial properties, the NSFRs, are we going to treat all of those the same regardless of if they did the upgraded stormwater requirements when they built?
Yeah, I believe there are options for that. I don't, Jen can maybe speak to that. There's,
sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, happy to. Yes, that's a great question. Many stormwater utilities are also set up with what's called a credit program or an incentive program, something that acknowledges an additional kind of nuance to the impact that that properties have on the drainage system. So that would be one of those more refined decisions to work through in the implementation phase. It sort of depends on what data are available, staff capacity to administer an additional program element, that sort of thing. So something to work through.
Okay, so I hear you say that we can put something in our final policy that's got an applied credit if they've already built a robust stormwater detention facility on their property.
That's correct.
That is a possibility, if that's the wish of the council.
And then my comment is that I was just telling Mayor Pro Tem Stites earlier tonight, the very first study session that I was at when I was appointed 10 years ago, we were talking about stormwater, and we were talking about needing like a utility fee, and here we are this far down the road. So I just really want to encourage the council going forward to support doing this. We've pursued many avenues of how to get this done without this fee, and it has not worked. And we're now in a place where it's dangerous for our community. And so I would really, really highly encourage you when it gets further down the road to support it.
Thank you. Councilor Ulm.
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing is, as far as the fee, having it in the bucket of, the stormwater fee, I don't know if down the road we would want to have something a little more, I guess, generic term, that if we needed to have something else, say like transportation fee, that we would have one bucket. Obviously be transparent with the public, but then we're not going back and like, here's one fee for this and here's another fee for that. It's just, we have one bucket and then that's what goes in.
Yeah, it's hard to do one bucket without a lot of groundwork. You can't just put fees in place unless there's an actual connection, a nexus. Stormwater is really easy to find the connection, as you just seen in the story or the story presentation this evening about impervious surface, right? Mr. Dahl could speak to this too, but I think we need to have a bigger conversation. The Mayor Pro Tem and I have been talking about, when the new council's on, having a retreat, this maybe hopefully next spring, to talk about the wide range of revenues and costs that the city's going to have over the next 10 or 20 years and how we're going to fund those, through what fees. But to add other uses to a fee or other purposes, I wouldn't say it's very difficult. You can't just do it. You have to do studies. Mr. Dahl, you want to continue?
Yeah, you have to do the same kind of rigorous study that's specific to that particular impact. And then how is that impact parceled out amongst the properties that are creating the impact, just as the last 15 minutes has demonstrated that, but specifically with respect to impervious cover drainage. If you were to say, okay, what about, what about tree cover or some other potential, you need to go through the same exercise. The state statute on impact fees is really clear about saying it's got to be very directly connected to the impact. There's some recent Supreme Court case law that is making it even more rigorous than just kind of a generic study. So everyone's kind of scrambling to drill down even further. If what you're thinking about, the other aspect of that is, well, but can we send one bill? Absolutely. You can have a bill, but if it's a standalone bill, I was reading the materials, if it's going to be a standalone bill as opposed to on the tax bill, this is your utility bill, but that bill better show stormwater utility fee, X dollars, tree cover utility fee, making up Y dollars, street improvement fee, Z dollars, with respect to your property. And then fine, it can be in one bill and you add them all up and it's a total of that. That's fine. But each kind of impact, and I really mean that term because statute allows you to do impact fees, as do the court cases, but each impact is its own animal.
And then the other question I had was on the two lenses. One, where we're trying to get the public to do xeriscape, and so they're converting turf to, say, gravel and having less plants. And with the turf, you have a high infiltration rate, and with gravel, you have less than turf infiltration rate. And so, giving some, I guess I'd say, a decision for the homeowner, if they want to do better, but it's a little bit of I'll just say a conflict of trying to, I want to reduce my impervious situation, but I also want to be more xeric and trying to do both. I think that's kind of, it's going to be kind of tough to try to figure that out. And then I think maybe having the city look at an alternate or another solution of using bioswales in the streets. I just really want us to try to, have that, carrot approach of, hey, if you want to reduce your fee, do something good, and then what are the ways and encourage businesses to, do those kind of things, the bioswales. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Weaver.
Thank you. As you all know, I am all for this. I do want to ask, though, as Councilor Hoppe said, I will not be on council as you all make these decisions. And so I think it's really important to recognize that all places are not equal in Wheat Ridge. And, like on my property, I'm literally digging out a conduit when it floods. And so I think having some, and I will not be excited to start paying, a $200 fee annually if those, the priorities of our very rural seeming properties are not sort of dealt with in some sort of priority, if that makes sense. I realize we're talking about the infrastructure of stormwater, but our infrastructure even past each one of these homes, a lot of Wheat Ridge has undergrounded sewer, stormwater, but there's a lot of Wheat Ridge that does not have undergrounded stormwater, and there's some horrific problems happening all over Wheat Ridge during snow events and rain events. And so finding some way to prioritize, I will be very, very excited to pay that fee if I know that I'm going to get undergrounded stormwater, in front of my house as a priority of all of this. I hope that makes sense, but really just because we can't talk about Wheat Ridge, we look at it on the GIS maps and we can't talk about like all of these properties are equal. They just aren't. And so we're going to have to prioritize what are the worst, how do we go forward so that we even out the stormwater inequity, if you will. Thanks.
Yeah, in the respect study that was done, did that at a certain level.
Yeah.
Obviously, if council decides to move forward at some point, we can look at those priorities again. But that study, that was the main purpose of that study, to determine what the need was in the community and prioritize.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just think in public outreach of all of this, those are your owners that are going to be like, I mean, honestly, I will be happy to pay that fee. But I also want to make sure that I'm going to get this, I'd like to get up to the service that most people have in Wheat Ridge. So thank you.
Councilor Dozman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I've always struggled with calling a tax by a different name to circumvent Tabor, and have been outspoken in regard to, while recognizing that we have a serious need because of our lack of foresight in the past, struggle with imposing this on the current and future generations, particularly because we're not a full service city. And so my question really is around the billing approach. I know that it says after this, we'll kind of move into having that discussion and what that would look like. But if staff or the consultant can speak to how this would be implemented, if it would go on sanitation, water.
The billing specifically?
Yeah,
We'd probably,
to residents.
Yeah, we would have to, since we're not full service, as you mentioned, we don't send out utility bills as a city. We have 7 or so water districts, 7 or 8 sanitation districts. I think it would be too complicated to coordinate with them to send. We would probably coordinate or contract with a company that would do the utility billing for us. I would not suggest hiring staff to bring that in-house. There's companies that would do this, that could do this for you.
Okay, so then at that point in time, we would be discussing costs of like what kind of a percentage it would come out of the fee that's implemented?
Yes, that would be part of the budget. I think it's probably, was that in the budget, Jen? There's a capital budget in this study that gives you examples of all the different costs that would be covered.
Yeah, I don't, a separate billing fee was not included, but there are staff and operational costs that I think contemplate that effort. So, yeah, it wasn't explicitly.
The fee could cover that cost to be in general. And yeah, we don't have those specifics yet, but those would come back. if you decide to move forward.
Yeah. So, as a District 4 City Council member, I had really supported 2J because I was anticipating a lot more of the extension of that 0.5 cent sales tax increase funding to be invested into storm and water drainage projects, and we've diverted a lot of it to bike and ped infrastructure. And I recognize that really the only other option we have if we don't implement a fee, then we would have to go and ask the taxpayers for money again. And so I really don't want to see us in this place again, as Councilmember Hoppe had mentioned earlier, of that lacking foresight and really coming at the end of our rope as far as those emergency repairs and issues. So I obviously won't be on council when this comes back. I really struggle with, like I said, the semantics of what it's being called, and not going to the taxpayers. But we recognize that there are a lot of issues, particularly in District 4, which we were not a significant priority on that list when the master plan was adopted either. So I urge my incoming District 4 council member to keep an eye on this and really advocate for our District 4 residents, and trying to bring them out of the floodplain and using reasonable discernment as far as the rate goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Larson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I just to start off, I think I do support option one that's been proposed here, which is basically to establish a stormwater utility and implement a monthly stormwater fee beginning in 2026. That seems a little ambitious, but there are, with this whole thing, there are just so many questions. Every time you look at one area, there's like questions about that, and there are so many gray areas that if I had to try to explain what we're looking at to one of my constituents, I would have a tough time. It's very complicated. There are so many things to consider, particularly when we think about the fact that most stormwater, the purpose of stormwater is in many ways to comply with federal water pollution law that's out there that says you won't dump pollutants into the river, and there are occasions when we simply don't have a choice. I'm not going to argue any of these specifics, because I do have a lot of areas that I am concerned about, but I do support us at this point, and I will agree to support option one on the recommendations. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Hoppe. Oh, Councilor Hulteen, what are we doing here? Is it Hoppe or Hulteen? Hulteen.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Councilmember Hoppe. I too support option number one in this. I mean, this is complicated no matter how you explain it. And the way we're doing it now is complicated to explain to people, and that we're waiting for a crisis and then pulling it out of funds that we have allotted for other things. So this is something that we've got to take care of. And, I think we have a lot of need for the funding. And I think to Councilmember Weaver's point, I mean, it's hard when this is invisible infrastructure, but when it's not working, it's very visible. And my neighborhood's affected, which is weird because it's up on a hill and you wouldn't think, but it's actually aggressively eroding the streets in my community. So the secondary impacts of this are also costly to us. I do agree that there's going to be a communications aspect of this as we roll it out. I think I'm okay with a fee, but this is something that, unlike a lot of things that involve our community, has been developed a little bit more just in this space and not as broadly in the community. So I just want to make sure that as this moves forward, that we're doing really good community engagement and outreach, and that they're understanding also the trade-offs that we would be facing if we weren't figuring out some sort of way to be proportionately paying this across the city, that it would be coming out of other things as it has been. So I'm in support of that, and I think that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Stites.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would say 8 or 9 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been in favor of this, but after watching street after street collapse over the last couple of years, we've got to do something, right? We have to take the bull by the horns and solve this problem. And I agree with Councilor Holteen on this, that I would support option one, but we need to have a very robust public process, and we need to get out in the community and make sure that people understand why we're doing this. And this isn't just the city wanting more revenue. We have real problems that we need to solve, and they're real problems that most people don't see until a garbage truck collapses a street on your block. So very important that we move forward with this. So I would support option one as we move forward with a very robust public process. Thank you.
Thank you. I had just a couple of questions. And sort of the other half of Councilor Weaver's comment was that all properties are not the same. There's sort of we've got an average sort of single family property. Now, is there an adjudication process or an appeal process if you happen to have a regular, 1,200 square foot home and a 4-acre lot? Are you paying the, that's not impervious surface? Is there a way to adjust that?
Jen, have you seen that in other cities?
Yeah, I have. So I'll maybe point out two things. First, I think any sort of appeal process would be, of course, contingent on how you have the rate structure set up and adopted by this body. So if it's a flat rate for a certain set of customers, then that's kind of it. I have seen elements of those kind of credit programs that I was mentioning earlier that acknowledge extremely low density on individual properties and other kind of nuances to rate structures that can accommodate that particular concern. You do also have homes that are on the other end of the spectrum and are much higher than that typical value. So I think we'll just want to be, as we work through the process, we'll want to be considering all of the development styles and how any particular decision kind of impacts the overall appropriateness and fairness of the fee.
Thank you. And then did your financial modeling include any contributions from other outside agencies that would contribute funds to stormwater facilities?
We did not include any other external funds. The majority of costs were entirely new costs as presented in that respect study. So we treat them as new costs, new offset by a new funding stream.
Thank you. Then I just make a couple of comments on this. I think we should have some sort of an appeal process or a fair adjudication board or process as we go through, because Councilor Weaver's got a small house and a big property, and that certainly we should be able to deal with that. And then the other one might be to take a look at how we might be able to generate other funds through the Mile High Flood District, and whether we would, if that was successful, give a rate holiday or something like that in order to recognize those other sources of funds. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Snell.
Very quickly, I also would be in support of option one. Councilor Larson and I were just talking about this whole concept of it was kicked down the road, the can was continued to kick down the road, to allude to Councilor Hoppy's comment. And the other option, or the other thing that we have here in our community, is we have new building going on. We will have continued new homes and apartments and more folks coming to Wheat Ridge. So all the more reason to look at this now. So thank you.
Thank you.
But Mayor, could I clarify maybe on option number one as well?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the wording wasn't 100% accurate. To implement, actually start in 2026. I think start the process of implementing utility in 26 would be more accurate. Maybe it doesn't start to 27 by the time we get everything lined up. So that would be, just want to clarify that.
Okay. Thank you. And I think Councilor Hoppy wanted to have the floor at some time. We took it from her.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask for consensus to move forward to implement a stormwater, you start the process to implement a stormwater utility fee with a public communication process go hand in hand.
Do we have hands for that? We do have a consensus on that, so thank you very much. Was there anything else there, Mr. Goff, that we should address?
I don't think so from me, Kent.
Okay.
Or Jen, you have anything else you would like to add?
Just our gratitude.
No, but thank you for your time.
Yep, okay, thank you. Yep, thank you, Council.
All set? Okay. Then let us roll back to part of our original meeting and go to city managers matters.
I don't have anything else this evening. Thank you.
That was quick. How about city attorneys matters?
Nothing, thank you.
Even quicker.
Even quicker.
We'll go to elected officials matters. Let's start with Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just very quickly, I'd like to acknowledge the Wheat Ridge Active Transportation Advisory Team, the ADATs, for their candidate forum last week. I was not able to make it. I reviewed all of the answers. It's always great that they do that. And also, at the same time that evening, they launched the Vision Zero plan for Wheat Ridge, which I am really excited that we are moving forward on that. So kudos to them. Can't wait to hear more about Vision Zero. And then on that note, I was out for a very early bike ride this morning, and so I'd just like to ask everyone to remember to look out for cyclists, look out for walkers. And if you are walking or biking, please remember your lights. I discovered all of mine were not charged this morning, so I had to make do with a few things. But lights are important because our time change is still a little bit away.
That's right. And
Thank
that flashlight in the teeth is tough to do. Councilor Hulteen.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Larson.
Oh, and thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, a very busy week last week. I won't say anything about the wonderful ribbon cuttings that happened last week, but I was able to attend the police chiefs awards for the year. It was a wonderful ceremony, a good turnout for that. I'd like to congratulate our officer of the year, Officer Mallory. And again, that our police department is the best in the metro area.
Maybe the state. Okay, Councilor Dozeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to thank all of the speakers that came and spoke tonight, even if we don't necessarily agree on things and situations or get a little tense. I appreciate the way things were handled. I also want to thank our Arvada Council member, John Marriott, for his comments and for answering the call to participate in several stakeholder meetings and focus groups over my tenure as a business owner in District 4. And I'll leave my outgoing comments for next November, but I'm a little sad that I won't get to come be with you on November 3rd since we're canceling that meeting. I almost voted no. I'll miss everybody.
Let's see, Councilor Weaver.
I don't have anything tonight except that Councilor Hoppy and I were discussing that we are having a time change. It's in November, and that initiative lost last year. So I was thinking for a while that we weren't going to change, but we are.
With that, we'll go to Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. Busy week last week at the police department dinner. I just want to thank for inviting me and my wife. I thought it was really great. It's really good to hear the stories of the police officers, and some of those stories are, pretty amazing. You hear about all the drugs and the fentanyl that's removed from our city. That makes a huge difference. And that attended 2 ribbon cuttings. The one I just want to mention is Lauren at Space 38 in my very few blocks from my house. She had one, and really great to have her. And attended the Cider Fest on Saturday, which that was really great to connect. And thank you to Betty Jo Page for the cornbread, and my former planning commissioner Ann Brinkman did some apple butter. So it was just nice to see some of those things. It was really good. Thank you.
All right. Councilor Hoppy.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Stites.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to thank everybody who came and spoke tonight. It's always great to have people here exercising their First Amendment, and again, whether we agree or not, or if we can help or not, it's great to hear from our constituents. I also want to thank the AT-ATs. It was a great forum the other night. Questions were fantastic. It was handled great. Mark De La Torre was a fantastic moderator and kept everything moving for us. And I also want to thank the Wheat Ridge Chamber of Commerce. I had the opportunity to go to one of their lunches the other day, held in Wheat Ridge, and they brought in food from Hickory Hams and Vinolas, and they're really trying to support the actual businesses in Wheat Ridge and do a great job. So fantastic for them. I'll leave the ribbon cuttings to the mayor. So as usual, if you can find it and buy it in Wheat Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Stites. Want to say a big thank you to the Wheat Ridge Police Department. We had I was privileged and an honor to attend their awards ceremony. We have some of the finest officers and families that support them, and I want to thank everybody who attended that and all of the work that they do to make our community as safe as they do. Was really pleased to welcome a couple of businesses into Wheat Ridge with ribbon cuttings. We had the Space 38. It's a really nice lady, Lauren, and I'm not going to get her last name right now, but doing work at Space 38 for cosmetic type stuff. I don't really get all the lingo. That doesn't affect me as much. And right after that, we went down to Hampton Inn at the Clear Creek Crossing, and it was really a pleasure to help them cut the ribbon and open their facility. Beautiful facility right off of Interstate 70. And if you haven't been out to Clear Creek Crossing, a lot of things, great things going on there. And just in connection with that, I will say that on October the 15th at about 10 o'clock, we're going to do a groundbreaking for Prost Brewing and the Outlook, which is a new restaurant and entertainment venue at Clear Creek Crossing. So if you're able to join us there, would love to have you there. I want to thank all of the folks who joined me. We had a big crowd on second Saturday with the mayor at the Vinola's restaurant, and we want to thank JoJo and Vinola's for all the courtesy that they've extended us over my tenure, and they've really been a great friend to me and to the city to support that, and the citizens that come and talk with me and to me and talk together with one another. It's very informative and a very great way to get together and to know what's going on in your community. So I want to thank all of them. And we'll be back one more time with Mayor Starker on November, the second Saturday in November, right before I exit stage left. Right after that, I was really pleased to have an opportunity to go to the Wheat Ridge Historical Society and go to their cider days. Great to see all the progress that we've made at our historical site out there on 44th Avenue, and a lot of energy going on there. And it's really I think they do great work in our community, so I'm really appreciative of that. As I said earlier, we will be back here a week from today in a study session, and I hope you'll tune in or join us in council session. I want to take a special moment to thank all the folks that came tonight to talk to us. It was certainly an energetic meeting, and we try to provide a forum and an opportunity for people to come and be safe and be able to express their feelings. And I hope that we accomplished most of that tonight. And I want to thank all the speakers that were here for helping us out do that. And we really do appreciate you coming and appreciate the things that you have to tell us, because we know that we're not a perfect city, but we're certainly trying to do the best that we can. So thank you very much. And with that, please dry attentively and slowly and with deliberation and do care and cause through our city, because we want everybody to be able to get home tonight safe and sound. So with that, we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much.